This is the Scrutone podcast, and our guest today is Andrew Balio, who is the president of the Foundation for the Future of Classical Music from Baltimore, which he founded together with Roger Scruton, who was, although he is much known about his political writings, but he was basically an aesthetician of, especially of classical music. So, and you are also a trumpeter of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, if I'm right.
Yes.
So, could you talk about us about the foundation and how you founded it with Scruton?
Yes, very good. Well, I've been an orchestral trumpet player for my entire career. I went professional by the time I was 18 years old. And I had fallen in love with the beauty of classical music as a young person. And what I encountered very early on was something that Roger called this culture of repudiation, where we have this overarching culture that we're living in. Some people call it postmodernism. Nowadays we call it the culture wars, that stands in opposition to everything that came from the past. So within the little world of classical music, what I encountered was this opposition to everything that I found beautiful about the past in classical music. So the message I was absorbing as a youngster was simply that classical music was dying, and we have to bring in a new music, and we have to discard the old world of music making for various sins against political correctness.
And has new music been became popular, or?
Well, interesting you should bring that up, because we had these movements after World War II that were seeking to displace the old world of classical music, of tonality and melodies, and they tried very hard. You know, we have major stars such as Pierre Boulez, who kind of led the army to displace. And what happened was we were saved by the audiences, because the audiences kept voting with their feet. When the ugly new music came in, they kept leaving the concert halls, and we'd play Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Strauss, Mahler, Bach. They kept coming back. And so this has been incredible grassroots support that we've been getting from the general population, not only in Europe or the United States, but also Asia and South America. And so it's all around the world that all these other cultures that have been growing and becoming very strong economies, and people who are coming out of poverty, going into building a middle class. One of the great achievements of being part of the middle class is being able to have extra time. And what we're seeing around the world, people, once they have some extra time, some leisure time, and they have some extra wealth, and they're seeking to give their children a better life, we see that they want their children to learn classical music. Not Boulez, but they want them to learn beautiful tonal music, the Mozart, etc.
What could be the force of classical music? Why is it successful, I mean, for the audience?
Well, because Roger Scruton goes into great depth in his writings through his aesthetics of music, but also he shows through his landmark books beauty, Soul of the World, and Face of God. All of those books culminate in demonstrating his assertions, what he's trying to prove. The way he shows it ultimately by the end of each of these books is through music, because music is unlike any other art, because it's not representational, but it does give us a window into the transcendent. And that is a very important aspect of what differentiates classical music from popular music. The popular music is constructed of the same DNA, the same ingredients. However, it's simply music that just does not develop. It's just, a song is a 3-minute quickie. It comes and it begins and ends, and it's pleasurable. Whereas classical music hopefully is also pleasurable, but it develops. It's a long story, and it's like a movie in some ways. You know, it takes you on a much longer journey, and so this is a very Faustian aspect of European thinking, where it's like Odysseus is on this great journey. We and our art takes us on these great journeys. You know, we have these incredible epics in our history, and so classical music is meant to be like this, to take you through this long path. And Roger shows us how it does that by showing that it's not simply arbitrary. The way the scientific or scientism,
not just a constant.
They're saying that we were simply programmed by psychological means to believe that we should enjoy classical music by social conditioning. You know, this is a post World War II paradigm, and that we're all just a bunch of trained monkeys. Whereas Roger shows no, actually there is a universality to the way classical music works and tonality. His point is around tonality, the way harmony moves us.
And why classical music is so important for European or Western identity? I guess.
Well, yes. Well, that takes us into a political question of identity, and Roger's other political writings does get into the questions of identity. And I think the thing that he brought up most saliently was this idea of the home, and he had these two ways of looking at home. You have oikophilia, which is the love of home, and oikophobia, which is the rejection of home, which doesn't really come from within us. I don't think he's saying human beings don't have this natural rejection of home, but political bodies, big top-down, or say totalitarian efforts, are very much trying to disorient or alienate people from having any attachment to their home. And so this, what classical music functions as for Europeans, and I would also argue for Americans, is that it's part of this identity from their past, and it's something that they've inherited through many generations. I inherited classical music from my parents. I have an Italian father who absolutely loved opera, and he fell in love with Respighi's Pines of Rome as a young man when his soul was expanding into knowledge. You know, coming out of a very poor family, and that what it did for my father was it opened his heart and expanded him, and I can't help but imagine that for millions, if not billions of people, it was through classical music that their imaginations burst forth and were able to begin to think in different ways because of the effect of this different type of expansive, journey-oriented, goal-oriented music worked from that. And my mother played piano at home, and she used to put my sister and I to sleep when we were children, and she would play Debussy and Chopin. And so I grew up in this family that respected European values and European music without being explicitly European. It was just simply this a thing that we inherited, and we understood it as an intrinsic good. So this so to your point, cultural inheritance is about intrinsic goods that we understand as such, and Roger points that out so beautifully in his political writings, and he always brings things back to music. And I think to understand Roger is to first begin with his work in aesthetics, because that was what was most interesting to him. And he is not, in fact, a Kantian, as many people say, but he's simply one who addresses these very good questions that Immanuel Kant brought up. So that's a little different than endorsing him.
Which are those questions?
Excuse me?
Which are those questions that Kant came up with?
Well, instead we actually don't have time to go down the rabbit hole of Immanuel Kant. And I don't have the expertise, because I am simply a trumpet player who latched on to Roger Scruton because he became a hero of mine, because he was putting into words the things that I was feeling and that I think other musicians were feeling. So in this sense, Roger is so incredibly valuable to many different, we say small platoons, as Edmund Burke calls them, these little groups of people. My little platoon is the classical musicians, and we're just busy playing music. We're not thinking about political movements most of the time, but we understand that there's something wrong in today's world, and that we in fact might be an endangered species. So Roger, I think, really spoke so beautifully to, for classical musicians without explicitly trying to. Yeah, I could hear myself in his writings, and that's why we became such close friends. And likewise, he appreciated me because I'm not from the academy. I'm not a philosopher. I'm just simply a person who's working as a musician. And Roger has so much to offer all these different groups of people who, should we say, normal people. And he really addresses these philosophical, he takes hard philosophical questions and addresses them in a way that normal people can understand them with a little bit of study. And I think he kind of nails it, because ultimately Roger was just a normal guy. And there's not a lot of normality going on in universities these days. Certainly in America and the Anglosphere.
Is there this kind of, I don't know, politically correct movement even in the music studying music departments?
Absolutely. The way it filters through is
how they can incorporate it. I mean, there is no postmodern mathematics, or I don't know, maybe there is, but mathematics is mathematics. Like music is.
Oh no, they can actually racialize mathematics. In mathematics, they're saying that that certain mathematical paradigms are racial constructs. So there isn't actually an objective mathematical posture that one takes with mathematics.
Yeah, even communists
that you're looking at numbers and mathematics through your biases that you carry with you without understanding. So in music, the correlate is
white guys.
I mean, you can't get away with it. I mean, you have all these white male composers. So how are we going to fix this? Well, the point is we can't fix it. The point is not that they want to fix classical music and purify it of its...
They want to deconstruct.
They want to destroy it. It's deconstruction. It's to take it apart. It's sort of, I would say that the political operatives, the people who are more interested in politics and political machinations, rather than music, because they're not actually there out of the love of music. They're there because they're trying to not only stir things up but bring things down. And then you read their statements. I mean, famously Pierre Boulez announced that we should burn down all the opera houses. And then he said it's not enough to deface the Mona Lisa. You must burn the Mona Lisa.
And where he will be employed if he burns down
the future. You're forgetting about this incredible future they have no idea what the future is, but they're telling you it's going to be better. So the way
it's going to be fine.
It'll be one of trust them, trust these people. It's going to be great. It's going to be so much better than this ugly racist past. So those are the types of things that we're seeing in classical music. It's the same old playbook. If you can't join them, beat them. I think that's kind of the thing, and it reveals a dark side of human nature, of envy. You see this. You see this when people feel when somebody is just so magnificent, so over. I experience this all the time. I work with people who are so over talented, so vastly more talented than me. I mean, I feel lucky just to make a living playing music, but I'm on stage with some people who are just unbelievably gifted, and they just are, and it's part of human nature that some people are more gifted than others, and we have to just simply respect them. And I would say that there's not in the postmodernist Marxist political way of viewing the arts, it has to be a leveling. The idea is to level, to take out the contours of highs and lows and inequality. I will tell you that there's...
But it's not music if it's just...
Well, the music, yeah, the music can be boring, but it's also, but the whole ecosystem of musicians, if everybody is considered, if all music is considered equally good, you've taken out the entire premise of classical music, which is quality. Yeah. That you're going to, even within one composer, Beethoven, you have these incredible masterpieces, and you have some I could play you some Beethoven that's like, it's not
the best.
It's not the best. You don't hear that music because people don't, his other works outshine it. So even within one composer, you can have great works and far lesser works. And so this is, classical music is predicated on quality. And I think what Roger points out through his writing so much is that much of what we're experiencing in this postmodernist world, that's, we're fish swimming in this, and we can't even see it sometimes, but it's a crisis of quality. And we're being persuaded, not only in our schools, but through the political movements, that what we believe is good is not good, and what we believe is these qualitative things that are sacred to us, that we have to abandon those.
Two questions. First is that how classical music builds communities.
Yes, that's beautiful. Well, it's so interesting because we don't, nowadays we're so fixated on data, and we want like everything to be measurable. Big data. Yeah, exactly. And whereas nobody tracks the effects of a classical musical ensemble on its community. But I'm very interested in that, and not that I'm not a very data-driven person. But when you look at a concert hall, just take any concert hall, and you have this concerts throughout the year, and you have these thousands of people going in and out of the concerts. What you don't see is all the things that happen as a result of these concerts. First of all, you're bringing people together, and they're experiencing this beautiful thing together on stage, and they're remembering it. It becomes memories that they shared together. Families going to and they go home, and who knows what they're doing at home? Maybe they're inspired. They could be inspired to play music. You start practicing your piano more. The children become inspired to play music.
You shared the experience.
Yes.
There at home, yeah.
Yes, I mean, and I'll never have an answer to this, the question, but how many children were conceived to the sound of Ravel's Bolero on the radio? I mean, yeah. or Miles Davis's Kind of Blue album, things like that. And it's just that music has this incredibly inspiring aspect to it, and certainly there's an enormous amount of conviviality, or this connection between people that's inspired around these musical events. So music brings people together. It becomes like a type of social nexus. It's a third place. It's not the work. It's not home. It's this other place where we get together in the name of beauty. Because for what other reason would we spend an hour or two encountering a beautiful piece of music, if not for its beauty? So in life, for us to simply contemplate beauty for a period of time is a remarkable thing.
My last question is that I don't know if it will be hard or easy. What are your favorites? I mean, it can be just the favorites nowadays.
Yes.
So what are your favorites nowadays, and who you recommend us, and which
my favorite what?
Musics, I mean classical music.
Well, as a musician, I
really like nowadays to listen, to play, and to recommend us.
Well, in the orchestra, when I'm sitting and doing my day job, I'm playing the music of Gustav Mahler, Beethoven, Bruckner. Those are the most magnificent trumpet parts. Also, Richard Strauss was extremely generous to the trumpet. So I love those composers, and they use the trumpet so ingeniously in their own unique way. It's almost like the trumpet symbolized a certain thing for them, and they keep us. It's like being a character actor playing a certain playing a certain role. So we have to put ourselves into that mindset of who are we being. However, the music of J.S. Bach is my favorite music to play outside of the orchestra, and so I go around the world playing in churches. I have a project called Soli Deo Gloria, which is the inscription that Bach wrote at the end of each of his compositions. All glory belongs to God.
Yes.
And so I recorded, during the pandemic, I recorded all my transcriptions. For years I've been transcribing music of Bach, and it turned into 2 CDs worth of music. And you can hear that on I have a website, my name, andrewbalio.com, and it's up there for you to listen to.
Are you looking for that?
Yeah, and that's if you want to understand what I enjoy the most outside of the orchestra, it would be Bach's music. And Bach wrote tremendous trumpet parts also. He had a star trumpeter named Gottfried Reiche, the guy could play anything. And Bach wrote all these incredible trumpet, like Second Brandenburg Concerto, the Christmas Oratorio, and all these. This guy was an absolute virtuoso, apparently. And I love all those trumpet parts. So you're talking to a trumpet player here, so.
It's great. So thank you very much for your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. I love talking to you.
And have a nice time here.
Thank you so much.
This was the Scrutone podcast. Thank you very much.